The average salary for graduates in the UK for the 5th year in a row is about £30,000 a year. Now your actual salary might be higher or lower than this depending on a huge range of factors. So I'm going to go ahead and use percentages in this ultimate guide to how to budget and spend your first graduate annual salary. Your main salary, your take-home pay, is going to be split into the following. So you're going to get a total of about £1,826 into your bank account on payday every month. Now this is after about £454 of tax and national insurance contributions, £20 in student loan repayments if you're paying back a student loan, and £198 of pension contributions. Now, the pension contribution amount I have put in as an average of a 10% contribution that we'd be making in the UK, but there's a calculation that I like to live by, and it's contributing about half of your age in percentage. So if you were 22 when you got this salary, you would want to ideally contribute a total of 11%, including whatever your workplace contributes. So if your workplace matches your contribution, you'd want to maybe try and contribute 5.5 to 6% into your pension pot. So you might be paying a little bit less than £198, you might be paying a little bit more if you want to, but I'm gonna use this as a ballpark figure to end up with £1,826 in your bank account that we have now to play with. Now in the 60, 10, 10, 10, 10 method that I push for, we've got 60% of essentials, we've got 10% going to investments. Now this could be investing in, actual stocks and shares, maybe a fund to eventually buy a place, something where you're turning that income into a future asset. The second 10% chunk goes towards building up your emergency fund. The third 10% chunk goes towards building up your sinking fund. And your final 10% fund goes towards building up your fun money pot and just discretionary spending. So out of this £1,826 total that you receive, 60% of this is going to be budgeted and allocated towards essentials for your day-to-day living. The premise of the 60, 10, 10, 10-10 method is something I really push for and talk about a lot more in my secret to savings video, which I will link in one of the corners. But the whole premise is that instead of letting your essential costs determine what ends up being around 60 to 70%, if you aim for the target of 60% when you're either flat hunting, looking at utility providers for your flat or home, that you try and keep this cost to 60% of your take-home pay. When we're using the average UK graduate salary, this comes to about £1,095. And this is for the total that you might be paying of, rent or mortgage, council tax, utilities, Wi-Fi, and anything else that you pay for that you have to pay for to live in shelter. Controlling this and keeping it to 60% might mean, making a few small sacrifices, maybe like looking for somewhere smaller to live, changing your utilities provider every year diligently, keeping your utilities low during the year, practicing energy cost saving methods, things like that. Now the second 10% chunk is going to go towards investing. Now 10% of the average UK graduate salary is about £182. Investing this and putting it away as early as you can and building this habit as early as you can is key to having a proper budgeting system in your 20s that's going to shape the rest of your spending. A huge part of this 60, 10, 10, 10, 10 method is that this 10% chunk goes out before you even realize you've been paid. You're putting this away first. You're not going to think about it. You're not going to think, how much do I want to invest this month? That 10% is just standing order taken out of your account before you can even think about it. For me personally, this 10% goes towards index funds in a stocks and shares ISA that I have with Vanguard. Depending on your goals, which you should sit down and think about when you've started earning your full-time income, what do you really want to put some of your money away for? This should be goals in terms of assets. What kind of assets do you want to build? Do you want to invest into property? Do you want to buy your own place? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to buy lots of stocks and shares? Do you want to earn dividends from those stocks and shares? Because that will then determine where this 10% is going to go into, because the 10% needs to start building up now. The earlier, the better. So after a year, if you were to invest into index funds, this 10% chunk would end up being about £2,790. with only £2,180 being money that you've actually invested yourself. So the rest, difference between the 2,700 and 2,100, is purely interest that you would have earned based on the rate of return that I have seen in a couple of my investments over the last 12 months. This rate is going to vary year on year and is not guaranteed, so do your own research before you invest into index funds. This is not advice, this is education, but that is a 10% chunk that is building towards your future. The next 10% batch of £182 is going to go into your emergency fund. You should aim to have this in a quick access ISA or another savings account that you can take money out of as and when you'd like in an emergency. And for our emergency fund, we're going to aim for about 4.5 months worth of funds. So I'm aiming right in the middle of the recommended 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund money. Now, I like to top up my emergency fund with your essentials spending and also a little bit of discretionary money just in case you do need it. So that's going to be the £1,095 plus the £182, which is about £1,300. So £1,300 for 4.5 months means you need to have saved up £5,850. If you were to contribute £182 every month, this would take you about 2.5 years. Bearing in mind, after a year, your salary might go up, you might get promotion, you might get a different job. The amount you're going to contribute into this emergency fund account is going to increase, so it might take you less than 2.5 years. After 2.5 years, you'll have this extra 10% chunk to allocate into one of your other areas, whether that's increasing your investments or increasing your sinking fund or just spending a bit more money. Unless you want to buffer up your emergency fund to 6 months or more. Your sinking fund is a huge important part of the 10% chunk because you have to control it. And the sinking fund, as I explained in a lot of my other videos, is based on having a credit card for any larger spending amounts or a way to earn points on any spending you do, like food shopping and airlines and things like that. So spending on a credit card is always going to have that element of, you have to have control there. You have to not go over the limit just because you have that money available to you. And what I'd recommend doing is sending your sinking fund 10%, £182, into yet another savings account so that the money is always being taken out of the main account that you'd earn your main salary into and building up in an account elsewhere. This is so that even if you go slightly over or slightly under your credit card every month, you're still building up that sinking fund amount so it's there, so you can afford to go over and under on your credit card every month or so. What I also highly recommend doing is paying off your credit card in full every month. The final batch of the 10%, £182, is fun money, because you're not going to get a new full-time job, be working full-time without having fun every month. And I think personally 10% of this is enough, unless you live in London, in which case I've got nothing for you. I'm joking, you just might need to adjust your percentages if you live in London. Personally, I use Monzo for fun money because it has the pots feature. It automatically checks what kind of spending I do, and the pots feature lets me budget for things like eating out, drinking, and shopping so that I can kind of accurately put money away for those kind of activities and control them, because those are things I don't really want to be overspending on. For me, this has been done by really locking in on my spending habits and my shopping habits and not following through once something is in my basket. While this system is hard to stick to for the first year and it can feel quite restricting, it's only 1 year. After 12 months, you're gonna have pretty cool and motivating pots of money. Your investments will be booming, maybe not booming, but they'll be there. You did that, you saved up that money, and that's going to give you a huge head start on, when you start getting promoted and earning more money, and you can funnel more money into either your emergency fund. You can have more fun on 1 month compared to the next. And I promise you will not regret the 3rd or 4th drink you didn't buy because your 10% of your graduate salary didn't cover it. Instead, you'll be buzzing that you can maybe afford a slightly longer holiday next year, or that you don't have any financial stress or anxiety when it comes to payday because you've sorted yourself out. You've got a system that you can rely upon. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helped. See you next week.